whatchamacallit.
Welcome to today's episode of
FroN'girls.
And I actually washed my hair this morning, but I need to dry it off, so 1 second. There. Now it's dry. Kind of dry.
Hey, Sumi, I'm sorry for being an extra poo-poo fart this morning.
It's okay.
I'm glad we got that out of the way. So what's today's...
Oh, right.
Before we get started, I recommend a simultaneous sip. So join us. Oh. Oh, yeah. Scrumdiddlyumptious. Now, what question shall we discuss this morning?
How to find motivation.
How to find motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the one who makes the coffee and gets my butt out of bed every morning to do this. So how about you tell me how you find motivation?
Out of fear.
Fear.
Yay!
Oh, yeah, that's it. We should talk about that.
No, I think, well, you have to think about, like, the long-term and short-term benefits. Like, the short-term for, like, doing the Periscope and getting out of bed is, like, it's always fun, like, rewatching them. And it's just better knowing that you did a Periscope in the morning. You didn't just, like, sleep in.
That's true.
And for, like, long-term, just having a whole bunch of Periscopes you did, it's just cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of just look back on yourself to be, oh yeah, that was the first Periscope we did. So.
And you learn different things, and you can re-watch and learn different things from yourself in the past. If you're doing, like, a Periscope, like we do.
So looking back at something that you did that was good and useful and
like
going,
with
wow.
writing, you can look back and be like, I did that. And also with the Periscope, you can kind of rewatch it, so it's not like you do it and it's gone.
And then you clean your room.
Right, yeah.
You can look at your clean room and be like, yeah, so that's what a clean room looks like. I had forgotten.
Yeah.
It's too messy. I can't clean it up. We just need a move.
We just need
Daddy,
a
we need to know how thick our room is. Really dirty.
It's just a pile of junk.
Yeah. I should also mention that we took a little break. The main reason why was that we finally got our app up, so we were really busy.
Web app.
We got a web app. Anybody can go check it out now. It's makeshifthomeschool.app.
Yay!
And there's a bunch of articles there written by kids about things they find inspiring and motivating to today's topic.
I also think that one way it could be motivating is if you have a goal and it helps you get to that goal.
Coffee.
My wiggly tooth.
I mean, like, motivation.
Wiggly tooths.
Motivation for you is that you know that I made coffee. So if you go up the stairs, you'll get coffee.
I'm motivated to get my butt up the stairs to get the coffee.
Down the stairs.
This morning it was
Sometimes you sleep in the basement, though.
Yeah, that's true. So this idea of fear, I think, is a good one. So
it's a good one. Yep.
Well, it's useful as a baseline.
Right, yeah.
I guess we call this, like, evolutionary psychology.
I was watching the European Crash Course, and he was there was this European, like, writer, and he was saying when you're a ruler, whether it's better to be feared or loved. Being feared
Is
is
it
gonna,
better to be feared or loved?
and he was saying that it's probably like when you're a ruler, probably like the safest way would be fear. Like if you can be loved, then great.
Right.
But like if you lose that, then people can like.
You can't find inspiration in your children's eyes. You're doing something wrong. All right, let me try that. Isla, look at me.
I don't think it's working.
Look into my eyes. I don't know if that's working.
Yeah.
All right, let's try. Okay, so is it better to be feared or loved? Well, obviously, it's better to have both. Okay, so moving on. Now,
I think it's better to be loved, but being feared is more secure. I feel like being feared is more like a safest way.
my hair's still wet. It's gonna be wet until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, that's better. Okay. Sorry, you were saying before I shook my curls for the third time.
So I think that it's better, like, I think it's better to be loved because then it's not like, because you know that people are doing it more like sincerely, that people are like following you sincerely because they really like who you are as a person, or like how you rule things. But to be feared is like more safe because then you do something that makes some people not love you as much, and then all of a sudden the loyalty to you drops tremendously.
So this relates to motivation, like giving motivation. Whereas I kind of thought your question was more about like how do you find motivation for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the question.
Okay. Well, so let's take a evolutionary biology perspective for some of this.
Yeah.
So we're motivated not to die.
Yep.
We're born with it.
With it.
Why are we born with it? Sorry, somebody wrote a comment that said we're born with it. So naturally we have to stop whatever we're doing and yell it out.
Yep.
That's how Periscope works. So we're born with it. Why? Because we weren't born with like motivation to do something, then we would just be sitting there under the tree going la 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 until we died.
Yep.
And we wouldn't be motivated to make babies or prepare for the winter time or any of these things, right? So there's some evolutionary perspective of motivation. But I do think that
because it's why
okay. So I think it's important to understand that context, though, was very different than the context of what motivation may mean today. And there's parallels, but there may also be differences. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but I think it's important to discuss them.
I think for like your job, intellectually, like you have your subconscious and your conscious. Like your conscious knows that if you don't get a job to like make money, then you won't have enough money to get food. And then your subconscious, I guess, is kind of like, well, it kind of attaches that to, oh well, we need food. Like, okay, let's get a job then. But I don't think like, cause I don't think that evolution is gonna like wire you to be like, oh, I need a job, but more like, oh, I need to survive.
You need to survive, right? Yeah, that's right. But I think evolution would prompt one to want to look good in front of other people in the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's going to be that element of it, right? So like, you've got like a cooler set of beads on, right?
Yeah.
Cooler feathers. You actually have a nicer lion skin that you're wearing to the party, right? So there's those parallels
A
to
newer lion skin.
right. So there's still these parallels of you want. There's like this. We talk about different kinds of social games, and that game is this. There's a zero sum. What do we call it? The social hierarchy.
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
Right, and it's zero sum because if somebody else is higher in that hierarchy, then other people have to necessarily be lower in that hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that game that was played a million years ago is still being played today. It's just that now, in order to be higher in that hierarchy, you have to have way more than just cool beads and a newer lion skin.
Lawn,
You're right. You gotta like now. It's like
shiny
bigger house,
car, bigger house.
all that
Nice
other stuff.
lawn.
So you're still motivated to do that. There's a form of motivation that comes from winning the social hierarchy game.
Flipping
So there's
your
the
bushes perfect.
fear of death motivation,
Yeah.
and then also the
Fear of looking bad motivation.
the hierarchy, looking good, social. Where am
Yeah.
I at in the social strata?
Uh-huh.
But I don't like either of these forms of motivation in the modern world. And I will tell you why, children.
I forgot I need to do
But I don't know. Maybe you should say why you think. I mean, we've talked about it at some point, but why is fear not necessarily such a great source of motivation?
Because, like, once that fear goes away, you're not gonna, like, it's not actually just a genuine drive in yourself to actually do something. It's because you fear something else, and if that thing that you fear was gone, you wouldn't necessarily be, like,
As soon as you get some amount of security, all of a sudden all your motivation's gone.
yeah, and then it's just, and then you're not motivated. So that's one reason why. Also,
Oh, really good. Good job, still, May. Yeah.
hi-ho.
Another one is that if you're fearful, it's very hard to be creative.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
if you're just like, oh, I gotta work to pay the rent. Oh, no!
Yeah.
And
Then
you're
you
just
cry
like,
when,
and you're just
like-
worried. Well, if you're fearful, like, what kind of life is that? Like, you don't want to live that way anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, you probably wouldn't go off to, like, start your own startup. You probably just keep, like, going to your job and doing the normal 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And so you're probably going to be more prone to get like sick, right? If you're fearful, people that are fearful, any kind of like mental stress like increases the likelihood that you get sick. It reduces life expectancy, and it makes you not very fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
So those things are all reasons why being motivated by fear is probably not so great. But fear is one of these most basic, driven by evolution. Like this is a key source of motivation for a lot of people. A lot of people wake up in the morning and go to work and do what they got to do in order to survive out of fear. But one of the things that I want for you girls is that you guys can find another form of motivation that goes beyond that for these other reasons.
And I think there's like if you believe in like a certain cause that you're really passionate about, I think that's also another form of motivation, though it isn't necessarily as like stable. Whereas with like fear, it's not like one day you're gonna be like, oh, I don't need to go to my job today, and then the next day you're like, oh my god, I need to go to my job. But whereas with like a cause, you can kind of like be really motivated about it.
Like supporting the rights of unicorns. Yeah. Okay. So the other form of motivation we talked about is this idea of like social hierarchy. You're motivated to try to win the it's the social status game. Social status game. So if you're motivated to win the social status game, okay, maybe you're not living in fear, or maybe there's a slight amount of fear to it, like, oh no, I'm not going to be as cool as blah, blah, blah. And so you're somewhat motivated by fear, right? But it's also like, society doesn't really benefit. Like that's because it's a zero-sum game, society doesn't benefit from playing the social hierarchy game. But the other one is, okay, so if you get to the higher part of the hierarchy, then you also lose motivation, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, have like a nicer car, nicer house, nicer clothes, blah, blah. You know people, like I know people, right? So if you're like winning this social hierarchy or social status game, then you also run into the same problem where once you're there, all of a sudden you lose motivation.
Yeah.
You're like, well, now I'm cooler than everybody. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Maybe I should focus on, I don't know, building a school for kids who can't read good, right? So that's not necessarily so great. So is there another form of motivation?
But if they do something that's good after.
That would be good.
Sorry.
But why would you be motivated to do it? You'd have to be motivated by something else, right?
Right, yeah.
If you were initially motivated by fear, and fear drove you to working hard so you had enough money, that then all of a sudden you were like, well, now I got some stuff, so I should get even nicer stuff, so now I'm really cool. And then you're motivated by that. Now you're at the top of that social hierarchy, right? Right? You're like compared to everybody that you know, you're living up on the hill, all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Right. I mean, I think there's like a entirely different and I think there's like another type of motivation where you're trying to help people, and I like the people who volunteer at soup kitchens or homeless shelters, or like the nurses and doctors, and who just want to help people. And I think that that's something that is something when you're motivated to do that when you first start out, you can be like really motivated, but you gotta make sure that you don't forget what you're trying to do, because like the nurses and doctors, they have to remind themselves, oh, I'm trying to get people healthy, and I'm so that people aren't sick.
I like this one.
And
can we call this service to others?
Sure, yeah.
Service to others.
So if you're motivated by a genuine desire to provide service to other people,
yeah,
why does that work?
I think it works because you know that you're making people happier, and that really can make you happier too. And when you see that, oh, you took care of someone and now they can go back to their family, and it's kind of like, then you it's something that you know that when you get recognized for that, it's even better, because like sometimes it can kind of be like a silent victory where you're like where it's kind of like, oh yay, I helped someone be healthy or something like that. But then but then also when you get recognized for that, then that can also be really powerful as well.
Yeah, so I agree with all that. I think one reason why it works is because we're social beings. So this also comes from evolutionary psychology. We are not tigers, we're lions, right? Lions live in packs. Tigers wander around by themselves all the time. It's like one tiger calls up, like the one extroverted tiger is all like, dude, want to hang out? He's like, no, I just want to wander around the grass all day looking for Bambi. Like, that's, we're not like that, right? We, human beings, get a lot of positive emotion from social interaction and doing good things for other people. I'd say it's probably also like, I'm not like a big like faith-based person in my thinking, but the fact that people derive so much gratification from doing things to help other people, in my view, is probably the single greatest, most powerful piece of evidence that there is some kind of form of higher power that is good, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that doing service for other people, helping other people, gives such positive emotion and can be so motivating.
Or it's like part of evolution so that we helped each other survive. So like if there was a neighbor that didn't have enough food, you'd like give them some food so
that's
they
true.
wouldn't die.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, well, so I can't explain the reason why, but I do think that that's kind of nice. It's better than I just punched somebody in the face and it felt great, right? It's like, usually that's not...
I'm gonna punch someone else in the face tomorrow.
I just gotta keep doing that, like that's not part of the reality that we live in, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's a great form of motivation. So just to recap, 2 forms of motivation that are really um, popular, I would say, but also not so helpful, is motivation by fear and motivation by playing the status game, a zero-sum game. And so I would argue that both of these sources of motivation are ultimately can be quite self-defeating because fear, well, one, both of them can be satisfied. So if you're no longer fearful, all of a sudden you lose motivation. If you made it to the top of a social status game, well, actually that never ends. That's not really a problem with the social status. You can always try to get more, but it's also like you're not actually doing anything to help society because it's a zero-sum game. So as you rise up, other people necessarily have to be viewed relatively lower. So you're kind of like on this hedonic treadmill where it never ends. You can also just constantly look up to be like, oh, but they have more. And so, like, you're never really satisfying yourself, too.
Like in the Jordan Peterson talk, there's like a really successful guy, and he was really sad. He was like, "Oh, I'm not doing very good." Compared to like his roommate, and his roommate was Elon Musk. So it's just like, of course you're not.
Of course, yeah. So
his roommate was Elon Musk.
So fear and playing the social status game are not very good uses of they're not very good sources of motivation. But then this idea of service to others is a really useful one, and one of the biggest reasons why it's such a great source of motivation today is that as the economy becomes more and more complex, it just becomes increasingly difficult to do meaningful, powerful, good things by yourself. So much of what is being created today to make the world a better place really requires working well in teams. And that wasn't always the case, right? Like, you look at Little House on the Prairie, the father, he could just like go out into Oklahoma and just start chopping down trees and make his house and go get the food, and like, you could be very independent and survive and do fine. But even like with makeshift homeschool, we've had to work in a team, and it's not a terribly complicated app. I'd say it's an inspirational idea of kids teaching each other, but we really needed a team. And so if your source of motivation is service to others, you're going to be building relationships. You're going to be building a lot more connections, and then that creates a foundation for creating more value for other people. And that's just more important today than it was even like 100 years ago. There is another source of motivation that I was thinking of, but I forgot it. Maybe we should try to think about another source of motivation until I can remember. I remember. Curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that while I get my source of motivation.
Okay.
Coffee. Go. Curiosity. Go.
I think that curiosity is also another form of motivation. Because,
Good answer.
Because when you're curious, then you kind of realize that there are a lot of things that you don't know, and your motivation is trying to find it out. Because if you're actively trying to find something really interesting or really powerful or inspirational, I guess, then you're gonna find those, like, you're gonna eventually find something that's like really cool, that's really powerful to you. And I think that that's like a really great motivation, because then you can find out about a lot of things and a lot of people.
That was really powerful.
I know.
I'm drinking mommy's coffee. So, curiosity is another one of these things that, unlike... Oh, don't worry, we got plenty of other coffee. It was just getting cold. That was good service to others, Isla. So, the other thing about curiosity that makes this a better source of motivation than fear is that it's not easily saturated. So, if you are genuinely interested in learning new things, you cultivate that, as a source of motivation. You're not going to wake up one day going, well, shit, I learned everything.
Right, yeah.
Finally, got that done. Now what do I do? Right?
Yeah.
Whereas fear, you get enough that now you're not fearful of starving or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like I know a certain somebody who
we'll make our
still he's lived in the same place for like a decade and a half. He lives like super, super cheaply, and he just wants to play video games. And I think he lives on like $5,000 a year. He works like 2 months a year, and then he gets that just barely enough money to survive. And then he doesn't leave the basement, and he just plays games. And it's like, where's the motivation, right? It's like he satisfies the fear motivation. He doesn't care about the social status game, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, well, are you providing service to other people? Like if this individual that I know were to disappear, like he's not necessarily adding a whole lot to society. So that's but then there's also like there seems to be a lack of curiosity too, where if you're just going to play the same games that you've been playing, you're not motivated to learn and expand your awareness. So
find other games.
To find other games. So I think that curiosity, service to others. You put those two together, you're never going to satisfy these. You're always going to wake up the next day like at least with the potential to be motivated.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're also along the way naturally motivated to build more relationships because people will like you. If you genuinely just want to help, and like find real problems, solve real problems, and bring other people along the way, and you're curious to discover how to do it, just get that in there. Just work that into the soul along with this. That's the trifecta.
Yep.
It's like
service to others, curiosity, and coffee. Good to go.
Yep.
That's how you motivate.
Yeah, and the same motion you do with your hand is when you're trying to get vitamin D from your computer.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So we've been using computers a lot lately.
And we haven't been going outside, so we need to get the vitamin D.
So Mommy was telling us that we have to go outside to get vitamin D, but I was telling the girls that, well, computers emit light too, so as long as we breathe in the light from the computer screen, we can get vitamin D from that. So we were doing that yesterday.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Just don't do that for your vitamin.
Yeah, this is a joke.
That was.
If you're not motivated by curiosity to learn if that's actually a joke, then we're letting you know now.
Yeah.
Right? You have to go outside or take supplements.
Yep.
Everybody should take supplements for vitamin D because everybody is indoors right now because it's cold.
Yeah.
And we're having. Wait, but we got the vaccine, but it's not being like very, very big produced right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, vaccine is coming. Oh yeah, social health warning. So a lot of people are seeing the headlines of the vaccines. We're going to have something like maybe 50 million doses or 25 million vaccinations before the end of the year, potentially. But the pandemic is getting worse at the same time, and there are no vaccines yet. So don't take the news of the vaccines as an indication that this is over. It's actually the darkest before the dawn. Literally in this case. Like it's gonna get way worse. We're getting this next wave of COVID, and then it's gonna get really, really bad. And then we're gonna start to get these vaccines.
Like, yay, we have a vaccine. Let's all breathe on each other.
Yay. Yeah. So just be careful out there. We would hate to have the one person that watches our show die from COVID.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really selfish.
Yeah.
It's a social status game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding. Do we have anything else we want to add about motivation?
No, I mean, like, there are probably I would think.
I'm sure there are other sources of motivation.
One person that watches our.
That joke was morbid.
Yeah.
Defend the rights of unicorns.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Mhm.
All right. All right.
I lost my.
To all of the wonderful people out there
And unicorns.
Thank you for joining FroN'girls. And check out makeshifthomeschool.app.
Yay!
Makeshifthomeschool.app is super cool for kids in and out of school. Everybody can do it now. You don't have to download it. You just go there. And then you can read lessons about, there's just all kinds of lessons on like everything. You got kids, I'd say like half of them is just YouTube. But now we're getting more and more from other kids, right?
Mhm.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop it. This is a periscope. This is not a mirror where you can check your wiggly tooth. There are articles on there that I have adult friends of mine are reading articles on makeshifthomeschool.app and going, wow, that was really interesting. I didn't know that about 3D printing or genomics technology or solar technology or silver or positive psychology.
We have a lot on there.
There's a lot. There's stuff on there about friendships, like the different kinds of theories on how to cultivate better relationships.
Mhm.
What else we got?
We got.
Here, help me remember things that are on makeshifthomeschool.app instead of playing with your wiggly tooth. Seriously, that's gross.
We have like Minecraft versus Fortnite.
Oh yeah, Benjamin, who helps us. Sometimes it's FroN'girls and Ben.
Yeah.
Ben wrote an article about Fortnite versus Minecraft and like comparing and contrasting the two that I thought was interesting.
He also wrote a book review on the series Keeper of the Lost Cities.
And you can write lessons about anything. So if there's something that you want to teach kids about, something that you found powerful,
or anybody.
Maybe it's something like Victoria, who was a neighbor of ours. She wrote an article about RBG in her life. You can go in and you can create these lessons. And so one thing that I really like about this app, this is the feature that really seems to make it very appealing, is that every single lesson is 5 paragraphs. So it's an intro, 3 body paragraphs, conclusion. So every time that you're reading one of these lessons, you can just like eat them like cookies because they're short enough that that you don't need to like get bogged down in something, right? But it's long enough that you can still have plenty of substance. So every article is 5 paragraphs, just like folks on Periscope, a lot of them use Twitter. So one thing that makes Twitter really fun is that, okay, I got 240 characters. So how do I say what I want to say succinctly, right? Well, in this case, it's like, how do I write essays succinctly, right? And so we've got young people, 8 years old, Isla's 8, and some other 8-year-olds that are writing really cool articles, 5 paragraphs long. And then we and other people that are like the teacher level in the app, we review it so that we, fix it up. Maybe there's some like grammatical issues. We polish it up a little bit before it hits the platform. So it's not just like every kid in the world writing something and then just like spewing it all over the platform. There's like this process for reviewing. But yeah, young people can write up great lessons, 5 paragraphs, and on all kind. We got one on Latin, right? William Denherder wrote like an introduction to learning Latin and why kids should be interested in it, and said a bunch of stuff. I didn't know anything about it. It's just like the rules of Latin are way simpler than English. English, it's like, okay, here's this rule, and then here's like 20 words that don't follow the rule. It's really annoying.
Yep.
Not the case with Latin. Didn't know that. Anyway, makeshifthomeschool.app. It's awesome. I don't know why I'm going away, but makeshifthomeschool.app is awesome. Just like dolphins and unicorns.
Yep.
Yeah. And coffee.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe now we should be done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you for watching.
FroN'girls! And tune in tomorrow, 7:30. We'll be back. So be motivated.
Yeah.
By fear that we will find you if you don't tune in. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Okay, this is getting awkward. Quick, turn it off.
Okay.
Crack it.